Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness. This is LZ. I am here with Nick, as always, and today, for our special guest, we have Evan Parker, who is the CEO of Mantle, which is the community and content platform for collectors. We're going to get into it. Nick and I have been testing the platform for the past couple weeks, so we definitely have some insightful questions for Evan. Evan's got a really cool background. We're going to get into that. And as always, we will have a special question at the end, so please stay tuned. It's going to be a kind of a sentimental question that's going to fit really well for what we're talking about today. So, Evan, welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All
Excellent.
right.
Yeah. So, Evan, before I ask you the question, I just want to let the audience know this is a really cool platform. We've
Thank
fiddled around with it. We like it so far. And the reason we're bringing Evan on is we think it's interesting. Collectors, we always try to find different places to connect and different platforms to find cards. It's like treasure hunting. And whenever a new one pops up, people might ignore it and they could truly benefit from it. So we thought we'd hear from the horse's mouth kind of, why they should jump on and everything. So with that, Evan, what is Mantle? What's it all about?
Well, LZ said it. It's a community platform for collectors. We're trying to build a social network for people like us, people who collect as part of their daily lives, as something that they're super passionate about. There are plenty of places to do it right now, right? You got Twitter and Instagram and Reddit and Discord and all these other places, Facebook Marketplace, breakout forums, whatever. None of them have really been built for collectors with tools built for people like us to kind of get deeper down the rabbit hole and share experiences, find things out that you want to go out and research or buy or show off the things that you have and do it in a relatively non-toxic way. The internet is a
Mm,
cesspool, and we're trying to
mm.
build something that doesn't feel like that so you can escape politics, religion, war, COVID, whatever it is. And you can just say, I'm going now to my safe space, to my fun space. I'm going to hang out with my friends and I'm going to talk about the things that I love.
Get focused. I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. Um, let's just talk about how the idea even came up, like the founder's story. Like, talk to me about the founders, where the idea came from, why you guys all decided to kind of take on this challenge of building this
Mhm.
platform.
So it's not my idea.
Yep.
Brent Montgomery, who is a TV producer, he did Pawn Stars was his first big show. The series Alone, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, where people get sent out to the middle of nowhere and have to survive for a long
Yeah.
time, was his. The Golden Auctions TV show on Netflix. So Brent, content genius, been doing it his whole career. Alexis Ohanian, of course, built Reddit. Both of them were collectors. Brent's first businesses were all in collectibles, selling cards and things like that. And Alexis is a hardcore collector. And the two of them met through a mutual friend and started just talking about ideas and businesses. And both of them were lamenting the fact that there wasn't a great place for them as collectors to meet other people who like the same things. And the content overall wasn't great. There are plenty of places to get good content in individual spots, obviously Instagram and YouTube and places like that, but there wasn't a platform. So they started talking about this idea, and it, I had been at the Athletic, was there through the acquisition to the New York Times, worked for the New York Times for a year. And when I got put in touch with them, I was trying to kind of think of my next step and figure out what I wanted to do. And they were looking for somebody to take this idea. Neither of them had the time or the appetite to go build it, but they had the kernel of the idea.
Hmm.
It was slightly different at the time. It was more about, it was kind of going to be Bloomberg for collectibles, more about the investment aspect of collectibles, because this is, post COVID where things were skyrocketing. And it was just sort of kismet that I was looking for something. They were looking for somebody. They were big collectors. I'm a big collector. They're content people. I'd come from a content business. Just felt like, hey, if I'm ever going to take the leap, this is the idea. These are the people. Let's go.
Nice. And how did you get? And you mentioned that you kind of met them kind of through I don't know, where did you kind of fall in and meet these guys?
Yeah, I just got on the radar through somebody that both of them knew who
Okay.
who knew me through the tech world.
Hmm.
It's one of those small world things that you kind of always, especially if you've been doing it as long as I have in and around the tech space, the content space, the sports space, worked my whole career in sports. You're like 1 degree of separation away from
Sure.
from kind of anybody.
Yeah, and speaking of that, there's a lot of interesting investors in this as well, right? I wrote down a few. I mean, Steve Aoki, Gary V, Candace Parker from WNBA.
Mhm.
Um, so like that to me is just very interesting. It feels like everybody is kind of buying into this. I'm sure the founders had something to do with it. I'm sure they probably
Yep.
knew all these people, and just kind of talk to me about the investors and
Mhm.
the excitement around this idea and people getting behind it, because you have some interesting people that are behind this as well.
Yeah, the great thing about working with Brent and Alexis is they know everybody. And I pride myself on a pretty good Rolodex, but when you put it against Brent's and Alexis's, it doesn't even come close to comparing. But when we started to fundraise, that was thrown to me as my task. Because again, these guys are incredibly supportive of the business. They put money in and they put time in, but they're not involved on a day-to-day basis. And so I had to go out and raise capital for this. And it was really important to the three of us, but to me, especially to find people who were collectors and who were not only going to be able to cut a check, but people who are going to be able to cut a check and give strategic advice or make intros and also had the passion for the thing that we were building. It's not easy to raise money, but if you just need money, you can always find people who can just give you cash, right? Like there are plenty of people out there who have cash and are looking for ideas to invest in, especially when you say, hey, I'm working with Alexis and Brent. People are like, oh, this has to be $1 billion idea. We're going to back up the truck. I really wanted to find people who love this stuff and who I could get excited about the idea and the vision and what we were trying to build, and not just this exit potential, but the need for something like this to exist. And if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk with big time collector, all the New York Jets stuff, and he's building V
Mhm.
Friends and all of that. And Steve Aoki, if you look at what he's got in his house, it's 17,000 square feet of a museum. I mean, there's not an inch of his house that doesn't have something that's collectible.
Wow.
Candace Parker, having played Hall of Famer in WNBA and the stuff that she did at Tennessee and with the Sparks, and she's got old Kobe's that she was gifted from Kobe and these rings and Pat Summit stuff and all that crazy stuff. Ben Clymer is an investor. He started Hodinkee, which is the best watch blog, best watch media outlet around. And so we really wanted to find people who had an authentic connection to what we were building. And at the end of the day, we're going to get excited every time I picked up the phone to call. It was, hey, I get an opportunity to talk about collectibles, not, I got this guy calling me. He needs something for this business that I put a little bit of money into.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, Evan, I've been a Reddit user since I'm going to say 2007. Very early
Really?
user, power
Yeah.
user. I built actually one of my businesses off of Reddit, just getting things to go viral. And I use it quite a bit for cards,
Yeah.
actually. I'm in the basketball
Yeah.
card subreddit. I'm in the sports card subreddit. They're quite active. I think they're like
They
top
are.
5%.
Yep.
Is this a replacement for Reddit? Is this an enhancement for Reddit? Like, how do you feel about it?
So, Lexus is a partner, right? And it's his idea. If he thought that Reddit was checking the box the way that it needed to, Mantle wouldn't exist. So, it's not a referendum on Reddit, but the fact that Reddit is completely anonymous, you have no idea if the person who's telling you that the thing that you own is worth $1 or $1,000 or should be graded or whatever has any idea what they're talking about because it's anonymous. It also is a place that can be fairly toxic, and Reddit is
Barely.
not going fairly right, and Reddit's not going to build tools for collectors. If you think about the ecosystem, Reddit's talking to billions of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're not trying to do that. We're trying to talk to collectors. I don't care about building tools that are great for the masses. I care about building tools for this community. And so we have an opportunity to do things that Reddit never would because we care only about a collector and only about the collector experience. And when we were coming up with the ideas, it wasn't that Reddit was this bad platform that shouldn't exist and shouldn't be part of like a collector's daily diet, but that it's not going to solve all of the issues that a collector has. And we are better positioned to do that because we're going to be wholly focused on that problem.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So when I do a post on Reddit, I fully expect half of the comments to be negative immediately. And
Mhm.
when the first one comments, I have fun with it and I say, "Congratulations, you are the, obligatory negative
Right.
Reddit comment. There should be a few more to follow." Uh, so Reddit allows video, and I was on your platform, and first of all, it is very positive, which I loved. It's really
Right.
it's been 100% positive. It's like that's really cool. It's not like, oh, that sucks, I don't like vintage, or
Yeah.
something like that. But I noticed I tried to share just like videos of a set or anything, and
Mhm.
I couldn't do that yet. Is that something that's on the roadmap, or you just not into the video sharing?
No, so right now you can share video through a YouTube link, an Instagram link, a Twitter
Okay.
link. It's native video is tough. It takes up a lot of space. It's expensive,
Mhm.
and you have to build specifically for it. And as we've been talking to our users, and that's one of the things I spend most of my time doing, and our internal team spends most of their time talking to users, talking to collectors that we want to get on the platform. What do you want? The reality is, not that many people create video content. You guys are
Sure.
content creators.
Hmm.
You do this every day and you do it really well, but the average collector
Right.
is even struggles to just put together a text-based post or with an image. And Reddit is the same. You've got 100 people on Reddit. 98 of them are never going to post. 98 of them are never going to comment. You've got this small group of people who are going to be active on the internet. And that's the same way it goes across all social media platforms. And so we wanted to make it at the earliest days. What's the lowest barrier to entry for somebody? How do we get somebody to just put content up on the platform? Because without content, if everybody's a lurker, you've got nothing to look at. And
Right.
so for us, that was let's get posts up that are text-based, photo-based, have Twitter and Instagram files render so you can see them and engage with them. You can play a video natively in the platform from YouTube, but let's not go build a whole tool for that because we just don't think that at this stage that many people will take us up on it relative to the time it will take versus building 1,000 other things that we know everybody's going to be able to use and love.
Mm.
Excellent.
Evan, talk to the audience, talk to that average collector who maybe doesn't even know like what Reddit is
Yeah.
either. Like, what is your platform? Like, what can I do on your platform if I'm a collector? Like, am I just going there to post my own collection? Like, what can I do? What does the
Yeah.
average user need to know or the average collector need to know about your
We
platform?
tried to build something that was incredibly simple and intuitive to use. And
Hmm.
so it operates like a traditional social network would. It's a traditional feed. You have your feed of things that you follow, and then the latest feed, which is everything chronological that has hit the platform. I would throw out there that this is for collectors overall, right? So we didn't build this for sports card collectors. We built it for collectors because every collector I know collects a lot of different things. There are certainly people who just do this or focus on this, but everybody, I see in the background, there's a basketball in the background, and there, like you got the Muhammad Ali photo, and I've got 100 things behind me. That's what a collector is, right? You might have a passion, but you've got all these other things you're into. And right now, that means on most platforms, you're going to have to go to different spots. You go to breakout cards or blowout form for this. And, maybe you're going to Hodinkee for that, and you're going to Metropolis for your comic books or something. Can we build something for a collector that it's all there? So that's the first thing that I'd call out. But it operates like a traditional feed in that way. So people are able to post and it's photos, it's text. You can ask questions, you can put up polls. We built what we call the mantelpiece. So you can put cards that mean something to you or in your collection. You can put it up on a mantelpiece, kind of a display case, and you're able to designate if this is something for your PC, if it's something that you are looking to potentially trade or sell, if it's looking or something that you don't own that you want to buy. I know you guys both do a lot of set collecting. You could post that here's something that I'm looking for from, Larry, if you're still trying to do the 86 Fleer set and like, okay, here's something that I'm missing from that. You're able to post that on the platform. And if somebody has it or knows where it is, that can kind of lead to conversation. And then we've got a bunch of content on the platform, blog posts, newsletters, and things of that nature. So those are the core features that people are using on a daily basis on the platform.
That's great. The polling feature is great. I've been testing out that a lot. I mean, I think it's just great to kind of get a sense from the users kind of what they're feeling about certain topics, like for the audience, like when Fanatics Fest was going on, right? I was like, what is the thing everyone's most excited about? And it was just good to get a pulse from the users.
Yeah.
This platform, I mean, we're talking you're collecting a lot of different data, like a lot of behaviors and just actions that users are doing. What can you tell us about like what you're learning about user behavior? Like you mentioned that there's a lot on the roadmap that you want to focus on as opposed to some things that you don't want to focus on. Like, what are you seeing with the collectors that are using this platform today that might be interesting to the audience, maybe surprised you?
So, we focus largely on sports card collectors as our first, entry into the space because it's too difficult to try to acquire everybody. Now we have content for everybody, but if you go out there and you're going to a comic book show, card show, sneaker show, whatever on every given day, you're going to get just a handful of people. It's really hard to build any sort of network effect or true community. So we focus largely on the card space to start. I think that everybody to a person feels like the other tools that they have at their disposal, the other platforms, they're trying to run away from the toxicity. So that was something, not a surprise, but something that was very validating. But they all still use it. Everybody's got these habits that every day they wake up and they open their phone and they go to Twitter or they go to Facebook or they go to Reddit and they hate it, but every day they're going to do it. And I kind of think about it like, there's probably a bar that you guys go to in Boston or whatever that is, total shithole. But your friends are there. You're used to going, what that the music is going to be fine and the beer is going to taste
Sure.
okay. And so you're just going to go.
Mhm.
But if a bar next door to it was built and it was, brand new and sparkling and perfect, you'd only really go if everybody else went with you and if you started building that into your habit. It's really hard to break people's habits. So that's been something that's been interesting. We expected it, but it's been interesting that everybody on our platform is still on the other places, right? We're not asking them to leave everywhere else. And we know that that's where a lot of people are hanging out. But come over here every day, interact with us, help us make it better. One of the things I say, and it's not trite, I really believe it. We're trying to give collectors an opportunity to help shape what this thing can be and is going to become. So every single user has the ability to tell us the features that they like or don't like. They can send me a text message. Like, we're like, hey, any feedback you have, I think, Larry, I said it to you the first time we met, like, you got anything, let me know. And I was telling one of the guys on my team today that I was going to do it, and they were like, "Hey, can we talk to Nick and Larry afterwards? We'd love to get some feedback from them about the platform. Like, we
Sure.
want to make sure that
Awesome.
this thing is good."
Mhm.
I'm not going to compare myself to Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, but they don't care what you guys think. They don't care what I think. The platform is the platform, and we really want to build something that users are gonna love. So I think that that's been a lot of it. I think that most people still are uncomfortable posting on the internet, even about things that they love and things that they have. And so we're spending a lot of time now trying to, as I said, lower the barrier to entry, make it really easy. Right now, when we launched this thing, it was like, you got to have a title and you want to have a photo. We want to have topics. We want to make it really easy to track things and find things. And we want to make it feel a little bit different than every other social network. And we're finding that some people go through the process and they say, all right, well, you're asking me one or two too many steps. Even if that makes the experience better, I don't really want to take the time. So we're going through the process now. We did it with onboarding. How do we strip out as much as possible and just make it so easy and so fun to post about things, ask a question, whatever? Because if you go on Reddit, people just fire things off on Reddit without thinking. Here's a question I have. They throw it out there, and I'm just going to lob this up and see what happens. We were finding on Mantle, people were taking a lot of time, which I love, to how am I going to structure this? What am I going to say? How do I make it interesting or whatever? And I think that was kind of making it intimidating for some people to post because they felt like every post on here has substance. And while I like that, I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to be able to post whatever the hell you want to post about, as long as it fits within collecting and isn't, you being a jerk.
Yeah.
So that's it's interesting. I want to touch on kind of the piece the point you made around like Elon and Zuckerberg and that part of it. For those that are listening, it is an interesting time to kind of use Mantle because right now they are listening and they want feedback so much. And this is a platform for us, for the collectors. So it's a really unique time right now to kind of craft how you want this platform to be. Like you can be part of this, the listeners, if you sign up and use this tool. It's pretty interesting because it sounds like the Mantle Crew is listening right now. So
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
what I've learned from this is that everybody collects a little bit differently. You guys are set collectors. You guys have a bunch of autographs.
Mm.
I have some autographs. I don't collect sets. Although I was, listening to, a few days ago, you guys were talking about how to simplify collecting and saying that that was a good way to start. And I've been playing around and, I've been a lifelong UCLA fan. And I think I mentioned it to you, Nick, in a post at some point. Like I've always wanted to start a set that was UCLA players in the NBA, their rookie, so it's probably 200 guys over the years. Kareem is obviously the hardest one, the most expensive one to get. I probably don't need to start there, but that's always been this blocker of mine. Like I want to collect this set. I've got Tyus Edney and Ed O'Bannon and Russell Westbrook, but Kareem, and I probably just need to put Kareem aside for a few years and focus on the other 199 guys. But there are guys on the platform who collect sets. There are people like me who most of it is about just passion, PC, and then some irrational, ripping wax that I tell myself every single week that I shouldn't open this box. I shouldn't buy a box. And then I open the box and I get mad and I post on Mantle that once again, I got nothing of value and I shouldn't be doing this. There are people who collect art cards. There are people like it's all over the map. And I think that's been cool. And if I was trying to build this, if our team was trying to build this for the way that we would use it, we would come up woefully short. because we only know the ways that we would want to interact with it based on the ways that we collect. And the thing that I love the most about talking to users is every day I find out from somebody, hey, I do this, and it doesn't really support the way I collect, or I collect this way, and this feature that you built is really helpful when I do X, Y, and Z. And that helps validate, okay, we're on to something. Let's get as much feedback as possible, because you walk around the national, 100,000 people, it's 100,000 different ways of collecting.
Yeah, sure. You said so many things I agree with. The first one is that the onboarding is very quick. So I think I was able to do a post in, I don't know, 2 minutes, just basic
Great.
information. And then bam, it was very quick, and I had responses, and it was super fun, and it wasn't negative. LZ, I talk to him about this all the time. I feel like the greatest threat to humanity is the comments section of social media.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It is just so bad. And I feel like Mantle, so far from using it, is positive, which is great.
So far.
So taking this in a little bit of a different direction here, I've been an entrepreneur for a while. I don't know if you've seen the HBO show Silicon Valley, but okay, so you have. For the audience, if you haven't seen it, it's really a comedy about startups in California. It's awesome. Go check it out. It's on Max or whatever. But basically, it's just everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and it's super fun to watch. And it's based on real life events. So I'm going to assume, I could be wrong, but I'm going to assume you have, I don't know, a couple crazy stories about this startup or the early days of this business. Do you have anything fun or interesting that's happened in building this that you want to share?
I don't want to disappoint. This one has been a little bit less Silicon Valley, in part because we are so early on. We're such a small team, and we're fully remote. When I was at The Athletic before the pandemic, we were all in an office together, and the things that would happen when you got all these people together, or you have a company at the time, it was, 600 some odd people. Chaos happens, things happen, good, bad, and everything in between. I hired my first two guys in April. So I've been on this business now for a little over a year. And for the first, 8 months, it was just me. And anything crazy that happened was happening up here. Like it was, I had some good days, some dark days, but they weren't chaotic days in that same sense, because it was all sort of me and working with some engineers that we've got on contract, and that was it. And so, it's been, I felt really lucky having the experience I had at The Athletic to be able to see somebody build a company up close, being really close to the founders, and getting to watch everything happen, acquisition and all of that. I thought coming into this that I knew what to expect, because I saw it with those guys. The reality is it's an iceberg. You only see what's above the surface. Even if you're directly next to the people, you don't really understand what they're going through until you're in the situation. And I haven't had to deal with a pandemic yet. I haven't had to deal with hundreds of employees. I haven't had to deal with the office. Like, my experience, it pales in comparison to what those guys, Alex and Adam, went with The Athletic. And I still have been like coming up short every single time. I'm like, oh, I know what to expect for this, for fundraising or for a launch or a legal process or whatever. I don't know what the hell I'm doing most of the time, because it's just every single situation is unique, and you've just got to go into it and say, I'm going to learn. I've told some other founders who have been thinking about going into this that I feel like the thing that separates a successful company from a failed company is really just the resiliency of the people involved. At least at this stage, right? It's,
Yes.
Muhammad Ali behind you. How many times can you get punched in the face, hit the mat, and get back up and take another punch? Hit the mat, take another punch, hit the mat, take another punch. And eventually the punches either hurt less, or you get better at evading them, or you start punching back. And that's sort of the world that I'm in right now. Like, we're just going to take a lot of punches, but if we keep getting back up, we have a shot. That doesn't mean we're going to be successful, but we have a shot. And if we stay on the mat, we have no shot. So that's the only thing we can do every day, is just get back up.
All right. Well, there's still time for crazy story. Fair enough.
And I'm sure
yes.
there will be. I hope there will be.
You'll write a book eventually. Yeah, just that last analogy, it makes me think of what Mike Tyson said. He said that everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Yep.
It's like, what are you going to do after you get punched in the face?
I have a little sign that, I wrote a note over on the side of my office that just says "survive in advance." Right? That's it. You just got to survive in advance. And I, it's like the old Jim Valvano quote, but that's that's how I have to live every day. Let's just get through it. And if I get through it, then there's another day tomorrow. And every day I might wake up and we might have this viral moment, and I might open up the database and see that we've got thousands and thousands of users that I didn't have the night before, right? Like every day I'm just one step away from this thing becoming the biggest thing on earth. And that's kind of the mindset you need to have. Even if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I just know that one day it will, if we keep doing what we're doing.
That's beautiful. Well, speaking of tomorrow, what does Mantle have planned? What can you talk about that's on the roadmap that might be interesting for our audience?
So right now we don't have a mobile app, and I'd be the first to say that that is a less than ideal experience. And so we're going to be developing a mobile app. It's complicated, it's expensive, it takes time, but as I said earlier, if you're trying to break people's habits and you want people to pick up their phone and go to your site every single day, asking people to remember that you exist, go to their browser, type on Mantle into the browser and go to your site and then use it and then remember again is asking a lot, especially without push alert capability on a phone. So that's one of the things that we're building now. It's not the sexiest thing in the world, but for anybody who currently uses it, it's going to get a lot easier to use. And anybody who's been saying, I'll wait until there's an app, well, it's going to be coming in the next couple of months. So that's something really that I'm really excited about. We're also working through some ideas around basically groups. So how do we say set collecting, if you guys were saying, I want to just talk to people who collect 1969 top tall boys, like how can I go find everybody who cares about that and have those conversations? Or, if you're a brand and you're a lot of piggy banks collectors who like the art cards from piggy banks on our platform, how do we have a place for them to just go have those conversations and do it in a way that doesn't detract from kind of the town square atmosphere? So how do we make sure that you're able to create content for this very niche within a niche audience, but still have it hit the main feed where it needs to potentially do things that could be for private clubs or private groups, but also not detract from the whole. So we're working through that now. I haven't said it to anybody, so you guys are hearing it first, but that's something that I think is going to be really helpful for us if we're able to execute it properly.
Excellent.
That's great. I was actually thinking of that earlier. So, yeah, I would say one thing, if people are going to use the app and well, not the app, the website for now, and it will soon be an app. If you have an iPhone, just go to the website and then send it to your homepage, the actual website, and that will kind of create like a fake app for you. You'll have like an icon on your home screen, and you can just click on it. That's what I've been doing. It's fine for now, everybody. So just
I do the same.
Yeah.
It works, but we know we can make it so much better. And push alerts is something I rely on heavily, right? Like somebody comments on your post, you want an alert telling you to go. I mean, I go back into Instagram when somebody sends me a video or tags me in something, or whatever. And right now we do notifications through email. It's fine. It works, but it's not optimized, and it certainly doesn't have that same real time, like, oh, I just got this message. Nick just sent me something. I'm going to pop right back in, or somebody posted into the whatever, the piggy banks forum, and I want to go read about it. I don't want to miss whatever was talked about, so I'm going to pop back in. And I think once we have that developed, and that comes with an app, it'll just make it a lot stickier and easier for people to use.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're getting towards the end. We want to be respectful of your time. And I did tease to the audience that I do have a random question that I want to ask you guys. And let me give a little bit of background, and then I'll set it up. So a couple nights ago, I have a 16-year-old son, 14-year-old daughter, and I was explaining to them what a Walkman was back in the day, like a cassette tape Walkman. And it got me thinking, especially with us talking about technology today, the question for each of you is, when you were a kid, what was like the one technology that really kind of stood out to you, that you just remember it has some just some sentimental value to you when you were a kid? Is there one technology in particular that stands out?
There's certainly a lot for me. And you speak about the Walkman, because I'm a degenerate collector. My car is an 88 Mercedes 300. That's the only thing I drive. And so I have a cassette deck, and I don't have a CD player. That's all I've got. So I've got a trunk full of cassettes.
Do you?
Still to this day, because that's the only way, other than
what,
radio.
What cassette is in that thing right now?
Oh, it's today it's Stevie Wonder. But I've got,
Love
it's like when I got lucky, the guy that sold it to me sold it with a bunch of his cassettes, and then I went on eBay. You can find a bunch of them. So I've got 200 cassettes, and it's a pain in the ass, but that's music. But for me, there are probably two that jump out to me. One is the in trunk 12 disc or 6 disc CD changer that went to cars, because that went from like, you got to pick one thing and you're stuck with it, to all of a sudden you basically had the entire catalog of all music that was ever created at your disposal. And so I remember my dad getting a car sometime in the 90s and had that, and that just blew me away. And then, I'm of the age. I had a pager when I was, I didn't have cell phones didn't come out until later, and I was walking around with a pager like I was either an ER doctor or a drug dealer. And that, then you go to a payphone, and so like that's
Yep.
something to me that I'll always. I
Mhm.
don't know why I had one. I think, my friends would send me, whatever the boobs written upside down, and
Yep.
occasionally my parents would test
911,
if I, right, all that,
411.
and but that was, that was technology to me in a big way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so I grew up in a rural town with more cows than people. And thankfully, I had a dad who was a little bit crazy. And I was born in 1980. So I was, early teens at the dawn of the internet. And I had, like, it was the internet for me. And I was on there, I'm going to say 93, 92. I was on Gopher before internet even existed. I
Wow.
hosted a bulletin board system. The audience is going to have to go Google that. But basically, what it meant was somebody in the town had a computer that acted as the server. And I had a few things on there, a couple pictures. It'd take like an hour to download the picture, by the way. And I don't know, random thoughts, things like that. And people in surrounding towns could dial in. And by 94, I was playing Doom on a 9600 baud modem. It was awesome.
There
Life
we
was good.
Love
go.
it.
And
There we
Love
then,
it.
go.
it escalated from there, obviously. So that was it for me.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing. I like little sentimental memory lane
Love it.
story there. Appreciate it.
All right. So, LZ, are you going to share yours or no?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
you want me to
I'm
share
curious.
mine?
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for me, it is Super NES, so Nintendo NES. I just remember Christmas morning waking up and it was really weird. Like I didn't even ask for it. And Christmas morning, that thing was under my Christmas tree.
It's a hell of a
And
gift.
it was, I mean, I played that thing like we all did when we got our first video game console, right? I played that thing for probably a solid 3 4 weeks straight. But that really kind of that sums up my childhood when it comes to electronics was that
Sweet.
just had
Love it.
such an imprint on me.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. All right, Evan, we're going to land this plane. Before we sign off, I wanted to give you a chance. So, how can people find Mantle? How can they sign up to Mantle? How can they follow you if they're interested in your personal collection? Just share
Yeah.
that with the audience.
Absolutely. So, to get onto to Mantle, it's www.onmantle.com. So pretty simple. We're at On Mantle on all the social networks.
How do you spell on
Um,
Mantle? Because I
so
messed
O
that up.
N, it's ONMANTEL. So we
Perfect.
spelled it like the mantelpiece. For us, the
Yep.
name sort of came. It's of two. We took inspiration from Mickey Mantle and what he meant to collectibles. Still means today. And then the mantelpiece, and wanted to make something that kind of, because again, it's not just about sports cards. How do we have something that goes cross all categories, but still has a nod to the impetus of building it in the thing that we all, the founding team collects and cares about most. And so that's where the name came from. So On Mantle, ONMANTEL, across all social networks, TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, whatever, and www.onmantle.com. If anybody wants to find me, Evan E. Parker on all social networks as well. But if you get into Mantle, you'll see I'm posting in there constantly, commenting constantly. It's like probably the easiest way to talk to me because it's a social network I'm on most. And we can put together, we'll throw together for just for anybody who wants to sign up. I'll send you guys a link, but it'll just be link.onmantle.com/sports card madness. So if anybody who watches this wants to sign up, they can sign up for that. It'll be easy, and we can see what the sports card madness audience is all about, and,
There we
and,
Yeah,
and
it's a
go.
good
welcome in with
test.
open arms.
Yeah. So, I will do my pitch here. And again, we're not getting paid for this or anything like that. We're actually on the platform, we're using it. We'll include that link in the description. And just for the audience to think about, Gary Vee talks about underpriced attention all the time. And so people sour on early networks because, well, it doesn't have a lot of people. And then
Yep.
guess what happens? When they have a lot of people, you're crowded out and they're expensive. The time to get in on a network, I'm not talking about investing, but just for card collecting. If you're seeking cards or want to transact with cards, a great place is when something's on the ground floor. That's why I'm active on here. I'm hoping maybe, just maybe, I bump into somebody that has something what I need or is interested in what I have. So you should use a platform like this to help your collecting. It's
I love that.
just a good idea.
Well
Just-
Yeah,
said,
and
Nick.
I tell everybody, tell your friends, right?
Mhm.
Like, that's the thing that I keep telling people. They're like, oh, well, there aren't that many people who are on here who like this one thing that I like, so I go over here for that. Well, tell those people about it
Mhm.
because you're in an environment that you don't love, that you don't think is optimal for the way that you collect. The people are there, but you don't like the platform. Well, change the platform, bring the people, and we can build with you and you can create that same community that you love wherever we are and do it on Mantle. And so I would just encourage people, if you get on there, you post, you don't get as much feedback as you get on Twitter or on a different platform. Well, every other social network that you're using probably has millions upon millions of users. We don't have that yet, but you also don't like where you're spending your time and you don't like all those users. So help make this successful and maybe it'll be a better experience for you.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, Evan,
All right.
thank you so much. Again,
Thanks for having me.
We'll
This
drop
was
the
fun.
links in there to make it
thanks
easy for everybody.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks
And,
for having me.
This is great. Thanks again.
Appreciate it,
All right,
guys.
bye everybody.